Nicolle, for those that haven't come across you online, introduce yourself and tell our listeners what we're going to talk about today.
I'm Nicolle McClure, president and owner of GRX Marketing, and we're a full-service marketing company that works with independent pharmacies across the United States. So today we're just going to talk about all things marketing and maybe the ins and outs for community pharmacies.
Nicolle, I like talking to people because you're not a pharmacist. You have a marketing degree.
Correct.
And I like talking to people that don't have the actual blood of a pharmacist because you can look at us critically. Even though you're on the inside, you can give us a critical look. And we're kind of weird, aren't we pharmacists?
I mean, we've come across a few interesting ones in my time, but I think the challenge with pharmacists in marketing is a lot of pharmacists are very black and white.
Structured.
The stats and marketing, as much as we try to give the reporting and the ROI behind it, sometimes it's just not there.
Do you think there's anything lost in being able to follow metrics now online and getting the hits and all that stuff? Is there a disadvantage of that anywhere? Back in the old days, a saying goes, someone just mentioned on the last show, it's like 50% of our advertising works. We just don't know what 50%. But is there any disadvantages in knowing more numbers these days?
I think the only disadvantage is maybe putting all of your eggs in that basket. Well, I'm getting X amount from Facebook or digital ads, and I'm going to put my whole focus there for marketing, where in doing that, you're missing a key component of marketing in your community. So, for example, reaching out to doctors, they're probably going to find you on your Facebook page. That takes the personal interaction. Same thing with your older demographic. Obviously, a lot more older people are on Facebook now to see the grandkids' photos and all of that, but they're still missing that portion of population that a lot of pharmacy owners are trying to target. So, and just getting out in the community. I mean, we help with events and go to the diabetes walk and stuff like that, and having that face-to-face interaction, asking questions. You can't get that through a digital ad. So that's kind of, your competitors are doing the digital marketing too, right? So CVS, Walgreens, that's where they're putting all their money. They're not going to those community events. So I think that's kind of the only double-edged sword with digital marketing, and especially if you're just not going to go to the park with it, not thinking about the other part of the other side of marketing.
As pharmacists like to do, if you live by the numbers, which are often a little bit colder because you can't always put a return on, stopping by someone's birthday party or something that invited, whatever. You can't put a number on that, but those are the things that are usually warmer than just things that you put numbers on.
For sure. And I mean, that's where we've really seen a lot of success. Before I started GRX Marketing, I worked for a group of independent pharmacies here in central Iowa area. And that's really, we took that grassroots approach, and that's kind of how we really saw an increase in sales year over year, is getting out into those community events and doing that type of stuff. And yeah, to your point, it's hard to always put a number on that, but obviously it was helping because they were seeing growth in their overall sales numbers and new patient count.
I think the value, Nicolle, of what you do, any marketing firm, especially one that focuses on some of the stuff that you do, is owners might feel they do that. They might feel, yeah, we're involved and stuff. It's like, well, when's the last time you did this? Oh, it was like 3.5 years ago. I shook someone's hand that came by or something.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, the less numeric stuff and maybe the more warm stuff, because there's not numbers on it and because people tend to think they have to be in a mood a little bit for that, it's great, but it can easily drop off the radar where you can add direction and infrastructure to that.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what we do with clients is we come up with a strategic plan for them. So yeah, giving them ideas of things to do each month in their pharmacy, but then also what we can do from our end to help grow their business. Because I think that's the other side with marketing, that is hard for a lot of business owners is you have to be consistent at it. You can't just do it once every 3.5 years of going out, shaking somebody's hand. You always have to be out there. It can't just be when a competitor closes and now you're like, hey, I'm here. You come to my pharmacy, especially if you're in a big market where you've got a lot of competition, because people just don't remember you. I mean, when I talk to pharmacy owners, I'm like, think about how many messages you see throughout the day on social media. When you're driving into the pharmacy, it's like we're inundated. And so if you're not constantly kind of in people's brains, then you're just forgotten about. And I mean, especially with pharmacy, it's a service that you use when you need it.
Having that top of mind awareness, at our pharmacy, we do a lot of medical equipment. And our definition of top of mind had to be with the doctors for that stuff, because we couldn't afford to be top of mind for like a wheelchair that someone's not going to need for like 90 years. You know what I mean? So it's hard to be top of mind for 90 years. And then finally you hope to get them a week before they die in a wheelchair. But that's where we had to redefine it a little bit and say, well, all right, we're top of mind with the referrers, like the doctors and those kind of things. We can't afford top of mind there. Obviously you can when you're dealing with patients who their family might need something once a week or something.
I think you bring up a really good point too with marketing is you kind of have to pick where you want your targets, right? Like you figured out with equipment, it doesn't make sense to go after patients. It's more a prescriber approach. And I think that's it too. You can't be everything to everybody, especially if you're offering the equipment and compounding and packaging. And so you have to kind of pick your niche of who do you want to go after? And you have to be okay with not grabbing everybody. Because it makes more sense to put more dollars in to hit that targeted group multiple times than does to hit every single person in your community. So
it's always been hard for me as a pharmacy to narrow the niche down. When I'm reading marketing books, they're like, if you sell cigars, you know, your niche is 35 to 55-year-old men who have this amount of income and things like that. So you bring it back to the pharmacy and you're like, okay, we're going to niche down. It's like, the next prescription is for someone who's in hospice, and then the next one is for a baby that was born 3 hours ago. And you're like, they're all socioeconomic differences and different ages and stuff. And I think that's a hard conversation with pharmacists where their niche is, because you're just serving generally across the whole gamut.
True. What we tell them to do is kind of look at their current patient base and average, what do you kind of see? And I guess in a very generalization statement, we typically recommend promoting to women 40 plus, because we found that women are typically the decision makers in the household for going to the doctor and getting your prescriptions is usually done by the woman in the household typically. So that's kind of what we will give as a general starting point for targeting. But then, to your point, it's okay, so let's hone in from there. So if we wanted to do compounding or something, then that target group might shift a little bit. Another thing that we do too is we subscribe to a market research firm that we then will pull data for our clients. So when they sign up, we'll give them a market report. So that kind of helps shine light on any sort of potential new market areas as well that maybe they didn't think of.
It's an interesting divide you made there, because I guess there's who's making the decisions and then who they're making decisions for. In other words, the marketing can go to them, but it doesn't necessarily have to only focus on hormone replacement or this or that. It could be, we're going to market to this area, but those are the decision makers for, let's say, babies, something like that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, if it's a family, the woman in the household could be making a decision for her husband, for the kids. So maybe she's seeing different messages kind of depending on the goal.
So Nicolle, who's your average customer? Is it a pharmacy that's done nothing and they don't know where to start? Is it someone that's already, marketing wise, is it someone that's already rolling and they think they need help? Who typically is calling on you?
Typically those that, haven't done anything for a while. Usually 6 months to a year, haven't done any marketing. They're seeing that dip in sales. And so they're reaching out to us saying, I know I need to do something. What can we do? I would say the other side of that is a pharmacy. Maybe they're a multi-store that has several locations and they're kind of all doing their own thing and doing several different things. And so they're looking for somebody to come in and kind of give a strategic voice and kind of guide the ship, so to speak, for their locations, that overall consistency.
Do you ever have someone pull you in because they're kind of bickering, like the leaders are bickering on marketing? Let's blame it on Nicolle as like the consultant. Whatever she does, she's like the tiebreaker. Is there any of that, or don't people care that much to get in those kind of arguments of the marketing?
I don't know that we've had too much of that. I mean, we get blamed for stuff sometimes, but I don't know if it's about between owners or anything like that.
My brother, he owns a branding firm out in California. And I'm like, Tim, you got these big companies. Don't they have departments, marketing departments, people making huge money leading these departments? And I forgot what he said. I think it's because I was so stuck in my own idea. It just seems like a lot of people are scapegoats because they don't want to take the heat. They can say, Tim said this. He didn't see it right, instead of we made that decision.
I think sometimes where that maybe comes into play a little bit for us is we can do all the greatest marketing in the world and bring people to a pharmacy, but if that infrastructure is not in place at the pharmacy itself for the staff to be inviting and an easy transfer process in place, because you still have to have a good interaction at the pharmacy. And so that can sometimes hurt your marketing campaign overall. And so we do see that once in a while where, maybe the staff either doesn't know about the marketing effort, so they're unaware of it, or they're not on board with it. So when they pharmacy starts with us, we always tell them, okay, tell the techs, tell the support team, everybody, like, here's the plan for marketing, here's what's going on now. So everybody's involved.
It's hard too, because like McDonald's, billions served and all this marketing, and you think that they would have everything down. And then I walk in, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I walk in and I'm standing there for like 2.5 minutes to order a cup of coffee. Everybody's doing all this stuff in the background and stuff. And it's hard because you can pull everybody in and do things, but it's like the whole package, that same thing can happen. And then then it's almost worse because you trusted them and then they blew it, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. You are trusting that then your staff is going to treat those new patients or treat a customer that comes in that wants to know about a service that you offer, because the owner can't be everywhere.
What kind of feedback are you getting from owners on social media? I'm sure it's different now than it was 10 years ago. Is it, they know obviously they have to get in? Are they gun shy? I'm sure you get some maybe 75-year-old owners. That's going to be different than someone who's 30, something like that.
Yeah, I would say for the most part now, almost all of pharmacy owners, they have a Facebook page or some sort of social media. When I first started this, a lot of them didn't, so it's definitely changed. It's hard for them, no matter the age, of coming up with content on a regular basis is a challenge. Unless you're going to have somebody at your pharmacy that's constantly posting photos or writing up copy. I mean, because to be good at social media, you need to do it 2 to 3 times a week. So coming up with unique content just to keep your page active is the challenge, I think, for a lot of owners.
That creativity is hard. I know, like with the show here, the only thing I have to be creative with for social media really are just these questions, our conversation. Besides that, a lot of the stuff I do is kind of plug and chug. It's cutting these things apart and making little blurbs and doing this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of content from that. But outside of that, to have somebody and say, be creative every day or 3 times a week forever, that's a tough thing for people.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's where we see a lot too, where people will maybe be posting to their social media on their own, but then it falls off and it starts at, they haven't done it for a week, and then it's a month, and then it's 6 months. And then by then, it's basically like the page doesn't exist.
You're almost better to not have a social account than have an old one.
Yeah, I mean, they're about equally bad. I mean, because if you don't have one at all, then I think people just don't think you exist because a lot of people will go online and do their research before they even step in a pharmacy. So they're looking at your Google business page. They're looking at where you are on social media. They're seeing how you come up just on the Google search results. And so, yeah, if they see nothing, it's like, well, guess I'm looking for another pharmacy.
Yeah.
But yeah, then if they find your Facebook page and they go to it and they haven't seen a post in pre-COVID, they're probably going to question using your pharmacy.
I take it, Nicolle, you guys do social stuff then for the pharmacies?
Yeah.
What is that you do for them in general?
So we'll write social media posts to post to their Facebook page. And a lot of that, I mean, it's some general health information, but it's also based on kind of what their services are. We'll do like employee spotlights and contests and things like that. We also monitor their page. So if they get a bad review or a question, we'll alert them to it right away. Because that's, I mean, a frustrating thing from a consumer standpoint if you go on and ask a question and nobody responds back. So that's where we're kind of that go-between to alert the client, hey, Susie Smith wants to know something that we can't answer. If it's like, hey, what are your hours? We'll just do that. A client, but if it's something we're not sure on, we get with the client to make sure that gets answered in a timely manner. Because a lot of times, I mean, with bad reviews, a lot of it comes from a very reactive situation. So if it's, they couldn't get an answer back from the pharmacy or had trouble with insurance or something like that, people often go right to social media or Google reviews or something to voice their disappointments. Kind of getting on those quickly is important.
People in the middle don't say too much. The happy ones might do something. They might tell their friends, but they're not really looking to go on and make a great thing out of it online. But people that are offended, years ago, you didn't do anything. You just kind of throw an egg at their window or something. But that's not very productive. It released that anger in you, but it wasn't productive. But now you can get online and give a review and stuff like that. Yeah,
which, I mean, it can be good or bad. Unfortunately, with pharmacy, a lot of times what we see is when it's a bad review, situations that can't be helped. So it's like, it's not really quite a fair review for that pharmacy owner, but, you know, that's where we're trying to help them. Those positive 5-star reviews from customers to kind of help bury those.
The other day I was thinking about this customer years ago came and she complained to me the next day, I think. She said, I was here at 3 minutes after you closed and I saw someone in there and they looked right at me and they didn't care to help me or whatever. So I was thinking, how do I have my staff do this? And I sat down to write something and eventually it dawned on me. It's like, we were closed, you know? I don't have to say, hey, staff, if you can, and if you see them and you're this and that, it's like, that's why you just have a closing time. You have an agreed upon closing times because a lot of times people, they're going to complain about something that's just out of your control.
So that's where it's like, yeah, we try to, if that happens, help our clients. Because, I mean, really, you can respond back to it and kind of give your side of the story generally if there's no HIPAA stuff going on. But Google's not going to take the review down unless you can show, like, bullying or abusiveness or something like that. So really, our tactic is just to go out and talk to your customers that love you and here's some bag stuffers or promote it on Facebook. Hey, give us a 5-star review and kind of just bury that.
Bury it
negative
down.
Review. Yeah. Because if people are looking through and they see most 5 stars and they see 1 or 2 stars, they're going to realize that it was a one-time thing.
Yeah, maybe it's because I own a store, but when I see a 1 or 2 stars, I just figure they're a crackpot. That's an old term for us old farts, Nicolle. I don't mean crack. They're just a cracked pot, I guess that is.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the 3s. I'm reading the 3s because I always look at Amazon and it's nice to have like a 1 review and you wonder if they're even on the right product,
Right.
Sometimes they're so far off.
Yeah. A lot of those, it's like, what? Wait. Oh, you didn't know how to put the batteries in right? Okay.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Speaking of the reviews, do you promote the stores to get Google reviews and so on? How do you promote that to the customers?
Yeah, it's definitely good to have reviews on Google. So we can help them do that. We help them like QR codes in the pharmacy where somebody can get it on their phone and it takes them right to the pharmacy's Google business page and they can fill out a review, do it off their Facebook, say, hey, click this link to give us a quick review. Some of our clients, we do email marketing for them. So we'll have an email that kicks out like, thanks for using our pharmacy. We'd love for you to give us a review. Yeah, definitely important to make sure you're getting reviews. Not only we kind of baseline it as 4 stars is better for an average, but you also want one fairly recently, right? So if somebody goes there and they haven't seen a review in 3 years, well, what's this doing? Might give somebody a little bit of pause. So trying to get some, we just doing a push a couple times a year, just in general.
How are QR codes catching on with the stuff you're doing? You mentioned that with the review and stuff. Are people using those?
Yeah, I mean, QR codes are kind of a funny thing because, I mean, they came out several years.
Yeah.
And we used them a little bit of marketing and then they just kind of died.
Yeah.
And then with COVID, they were everywhere now.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, you couldn't go to a restaurant without seeing a QR code. I see them in a lot of places. I'll see them on TV commercials now, on shirts and stuff like that. But I think they're definitely useful. The nice thing is like we can track how often it gets scanned and things like that. So it kind of goes back to that metrics reporting, as opposed to the alternative is like just bringing in a coupon to the pharmacy, and now somebody has to either keep track of that physical coupon or they have to make sure it's entered into the dispensing system correctly. So it's sometimes a bigger barrier for reporting the metrics.
Yeah, the one Super Bowl ad, I forget who it was this last game. They basically had a QR code and it was just like Pong. It was just going slowly bouncing around real slowly. But
yeah, it reminded us of back when you used to like watch DVDs at like school and you'd have that icon that bounced around. I think they were definitely playing on that nostalgia a little bit. But yeah, I think that was only like a 10 or 15 second commercial.
It wasn't long.
Yeah. And I think they got a great response.
I mean,
it's pretty ingenious, actually, because I don't even know that they said anything. I think it
I don't think so. I think it maybe had an initial or something. I forget what it was. Might have been a crypto thing. I forget. It was something kind of hip now. I forget what it was, though. It might have been Coinbase. Speaking of those balls bouncing around the screen, when I was about 10 years old, we got one of the first video games, and it was called Odyssey. And all it had was this square, like bouncing from side to side. And then they gave you like 8 different cellophane colored things, and you would actually press those onto your TV. So there'd be one that was green, that would be tennis. And then you would take that down and you'd have one, it'd look like a basketball court. You take that off and that thing was doing the same damn thing the whole time. It was just bouncing around. But those were your different games with cellophane on the TV screen.
That's funny. I don't know that I've ever heard that before.
You're too young for that. That was Odyssey. And then next up, I think, was Atari. We couldn't believe that as kids. It's like, we can do this without having to put a quarter in every time. Nicolle, why are you in pharmacy versus other marketing? How did you land in pharmacy?
I have been in pharmacy almost 20 years.
That's a long time now.
Yeah. So the first year I started was when Medicare Part D came in first year. I took a job with Medicap Pharmacies Incorporated, which was based out of West Des Moines here. It's a franchise business to start your own pharmacy. And so I worked with a group of pharmacies doing their marketing.
How'd you get into that? Just because you had a marketing thing and that was where you landed?
And it was my second job out of college. My first job was in a publishing company here in Des Moines. And so, yeah, I was just looking for my next job and happened to find it and thought it was interesting and worked there till 2008 when our offices closed. They were sold Cardinal Health, and they just kept the offices in St. Louis, which is where our medicine shop used to be based out of. And so our offices went away, our positions went away, and I was lucky enough to be offered a job with the group of pharmacies here in Central Iowa area. It was a group of Medicap pharmacies. At the time, there was only 8 locations And so I was brought in to kind of streamline their marketing. They were kind of each doing their own thing. There was no budget. There was just spending here and there. So that's where I came in, and then started new programs for the pharmacies, and then started GRX marketing in 2010 because from my previous connections with Medicap Corporate and just putting these programs together for the pharmacies that I was a part of, just saw an opportunity to help other pharmacies with their marketing.
Does that have a meaning, GRX?
No, the president's name is Greg. That's kind of where it came from. So I just started GRX marketing kind of as a side hustle for that company. And over the last 10, 11 years, it grew to its own sustainable, viable business. And in July of 21, I actually purchased the GRX marketing from that company. So now it's 100% mine.
When you began it as GRX marketing, you didn't own it all then, and that's where his name comes into it.
Yeah, you got it.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of this thing, interlaying web thing. We get into the nitty gritty of it. Yeah, so I was fortunate enough over that time he really let me grow it and add staff and everything kind of under his wing. And in 2021, I was kind of ready to take over it myself and take that leap. So now it is 100% my company.
Do you still do stuff for the Medicap group?
Yeah, so they're a client of ours we work with here locally.
Did you threaten a walkout against him?
No.
I mean, were you like, I'm gone if I don't get this? How did that work out?
Honestly, he's always wanted me to take it, I think. And it was more on my end where I wasn't sure I was ready to kind of take that plunge and go full in on it. And just where I was personally and professionally, I was like, I'm ready for a new challenge. And so I just approached him about it, and it was very amicable and great, and their clients of ours. So.
What was your biggest realization once you took it over, once it was yours? Whether it's good or bad, what was the biggest realization?
I mean, I think just you watch the numbers a lot more when it's your money. I mean, not that I didn't before, but a lot closer and kind of just more of a pulse on kind of the ebb and flow of losing and gaining clients. I would say too, so we moved offices in March of this year. We were sharing a space with the previous company. So now just being in charge of benefits and 401k and office stuff, ensure there's toilet paper in the bathroom. Little things like that kind of you don't think about when you take over a business. So
I remember at our pharmacy, we went through a big remodeling. It seems like yesterday, but it was years and years ago. And business became easier once you had a place to do it in. In other words, we had a small back door. It was hard to get equipment in. And I think just subconsciously, you just didn't want to get certain things there because you knew it was going to be a pain in the ass to physically even get around and stuff. And then we got wider doors and a back kind of shipping door and things like that. And with you, I bet that was pretty exciting to get your own digs, and it kind of even subconsciously built up confidence and power and things like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, for me, I would say personally, the moving of the office space and getting our own space felt more impactful, or made the whole buying the business thing more real than when I did in July of 21, because we were still at the same office. So yeah, it truly felt like mine when we moved here in March. And I think my employees, my team feels like that too. They kind of then had their own space as well and kind of came out of their shell a little bit, because we've kind of got our own space to be creative, and marketing people are allowed.
Marketing people are allowed?
We are, and we like to have fun. It's kind of that work hard, play hard mentality.
The movies show marketing firms with the Nerf basketball hoops and all that kind of stuff. Like, you got to have the idea stuff.
And we don't have any of that. There's just a lot of like kind of brainstorming that goes on throughout the day. So you're in each other's offices, and we'll do games and stuff here once in a while.
We have a game at the pharmacy. It's called Bring in Donuts for Mike.
I should start that game because I love donuts.
Yeah. How many people are around during the day? Like, how many people are in your office?
So there's 12 of us.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. So there's me and 11 others.
Are they all employees?
Yes. So I had 3 this year in 2022.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. So yeah, everybody works here out of the office. We don't do any remote work. A few of us will travel throughout the year for conferences or whatnot, but for the most part, we're here Monday through Friday. And I think sometimes that might be a little bit of a misconception from our clients. They think that we are either working remotely or don't talk to each other, but we have a lot of interaction.
Nicolle, mark my word, put my stamp on this. That's going to be something that you start telling people eventually. Maybe you already are. Do you tell that to clients?
We do, but maybe not as much as we should. Maybe we're undervaluing the importance of it.
I think that's going to be a trend, Nicolle. I can see you telling people, like, we're a 12-person force. You're going to start hearing things like, whatever the term is, on campus or in-house. You're going to start hearing that more, I think, especially with, like, let's say your stuff. There's that team atmosphere to it, like you just said. You know, that's a value to people. I think you're going to start hearing that more.
Yeah, I could see that.
You're the one that can do it. Let's get it going.
Let's do it. Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense because, like I said, it's something that we maybe just take for granted, but a lot of people have the same reaction that you did when I tell them that there's 12 of us, where I think we're much bigger out than people realize. We fly under the radar a little bit, I think. We're not out there maybe as much as some other marketing companies.
What kind of stuff do you contract out?
The only things we contract out are like print jobs that we can't do them here in-house. We work with a clinical pharmacist, one of our clients, for research type thing.
Yeah.
So we tap into her a little bit, but for the most part, it's all done here in-house. Like a specialist works with a group of clients and she's in charge of working with them, answering their calls and emails, but also the design work and printing if needed or the digital stuff. So it's kind of, she's really handling the start to finish. Sometimes I like to just do something, design something. It's kind of a little therapeutic. You can kind of just zone out and put something together.
Here's the problem with growth is sometimes you grow and you're pushed out of something you might like. All the books talking about what hat are you wearing and the E-Myth about how to structure everything. And sometimes it's like, look, I understand all that, but I'm going to spend 1% of my week doing this. It doesn't make sense. I just like doing it. It's just fun to do because sometimes you get pushed right out of what you liked.
Yeah. I mean, I like doing design. There's definitely other people on my team that are better than me, and that's why I pay them to do that stuff. My passion has always been helping people. I think that's why I'm in this business and why I bought the marketing company and stuff, because I truly like helping people succeed. I like the social interaction. I mean, I think this year being able to go to some of the conferences and stuff have been nice, just to have that face-to-face interaction and come up that I think wouldn't come up on a phone call because you can read body language and things like that. And you run into somebody that you weren't planning to. And I think there's benefits there for that.
Oh, yeah. Body language is huge. And this is a step up from a phone call because we're looking at each other on the screen right now.
Right.
You know, seeing people. I had one gal, she came on the podcast, and in my instructions, I'm clear. I say, we're on video. I don't use the video. I just use it to have this interaction, but I don't show the video anywhere. So she came on, and she didn't want to turn her camera on because it was like early in the morning and her hair wasn't done or something like that. So she started being like my therapist. She's like, why do you really need video? I said, that's not up for discussion. You agreed to do this. You don't come on later and say, why do you need video?
Yeah, I mean, I usually will turn video on for calls. I mean, I think it just helps kind of, like you said, it's a step above just a phone call, and at least being able to see each other kind of helps the interaction.
Do you have to / do you like to get involved with the new clients? Are you selling to them, or is your team doing that initial stuff?
I really don't do a lot. The clients, like pharmacy owners signing up, I have a couple that couple employees that work on that's kind of their responsibility. I tend to do more kind of like the high level strategic planning or working on like partnerships or like corporate type marketing where we help other businesses within the industry do marketing. I used to sell to pharmacy owners, but I don't as much anymore. I still go to some of the conferences and speak at them, but not as much as I used to.
Do you like the conferences?
I do. I think every conference I've been to, there's always an interaction, a good interaction or meet that I didn't know was going to happen or anticipate happening. And so I think those you never get by like a virtual conference or just always relying on calls and emails. You see somebody that you know, or somebody sees you that they know somebody, so they bring their friend over to your booth. And it's just a good way to check in with our current clients. And that's kind of one of our few opportunities to see them face to face, right? All of our work is done remote via phone or email with our clients. So to get to meet them in person is pretty valuable.
What do you mean by helping other businesses?
So we started getting into, we've probably got 12 to 15 companies that are within the pharmacy industry, but there are other companies like we are. So they're trying to reach pharmacy owners with their products and services as well. So we're helping them with their marketing.
These other businesses, are you selling them your connection so people go through you and then they end up seeing your people, or you're actually teaching them how to market in the real world to these other pharmacies?
Yeah, so we're behind the scenes. We're writing their social media, and we've done some website for companies, things like that. We're not really kind of the middleman to help them as far as like being the face to help them get.
You're not like their salespeople.
No,
So.
we're their marketing company, just like we would be for a pharmacy. It's just B2B instead of B2C.
What's the best method for these businesses to reach out to the pharmacies?
I would say we've had good success with LinkedIn and doing stuff through that. Email marketing has been good. We'll do some digital marketing, so SEO campaign and things like that. If they go to trade shows, we've designed trade show booths and hand out flyers.
Are these companies more difficult to deal with than pharmacy owners?
Just difficult in different ways.
Spill the beans. Let's go. Come on.
How's that for a PC? Yeah.
Come on.
No, I think companies, they sometimes don't know what they want. So then we go through a lot of iterations of things, which is a lot of work on our side. And I don't know that companies maybe realize it's not as easy as making a change on a website that the public may think it could really take hours of work.
It seems like a pharmacy, they know kind of the method they want to the end user, which would be the customer. They know that they like warmth and trust and happiness and all that kind of stuff. I imagine that the business owners of these dozen, they don't necessarily know what their message should be to the pharmacies. And then that probably they keep changing that then.
Right. I have a hard time nailing down just one message because, again, what we run into is they want to be everything to a pharmacy. And it's like, no, pick one thing to focus on.
I've dabbled in emails a few times, and I always end up tossing the idea. Same way with the sync program. Do you have pharmacies that do the sync program? You know what I'm talking about?
Like syncing a prescription?
Yeah, we suck at that. I think I've tried like 3 times and I've given up every time. Same with email stuff. It's like I've collected a dozen email addresses here and there from people, and I think it's the content thing. There's not enough to, so once in a while, like once every 3 years or something, you really wish that you could have got out to the masses. And when it's not marketing, when it's something crucial, we can do that through outgoing phone calls now, so that we didn't used to have. But with email things, we never seem to have enough content. How are pharmacies liking email marketing, and how's that going for some?
It helps create that stickiness.
Mm-hmm.
So even as a customer, if I don't do anything with it, I'm still getting those messages from the pharmacy. As low cost as email marketing is, It's a great way to stay in front of your customers, to your point, if something happens, or like sharing events, things like that. So
it's hard in a pharmacy. You can't ask people where they heard about you. Like if you're an attorney, you can say, how did you end up here today? Did you see us here? With pharmacy, though, you can ask people and they're like, oh, I saw you on TV. It's like, no, you didn't, because I haven't been on that station or whatever. People don't even know. It's just that buildup of trust, and eventually it tips in your favor. Here's the problem with pharmacy. I've been putting business cards that actually say, tell someone about us. I word it differently than that, but it's like, tell someone about this. With medical equipment, word of mouth is a little bit easier because people say, Marge, I see your new cane. It's got nice flowers on it. Are those daffodils? Where'd you get that? And I got that at the pharmacy, this or that. There's talking points, but with pharmacy, you don't tend to talk about things so much. And if you do, it's usually the negative. You know, I got gout and this, and you don't typically pull your bottle out and say, look what I did, and let me tell you about this. Right. It's cliche that people don't talk about good things anyways. It's normally complaints, but there's nothing to jog that with word of mouth. So I think if you can jog that word of mouth, that does help.
Right, for sure.
Do you promote any word of mouth things, or you just hope that it comes through the advertising? Are there any tricks of word of mouth?
I mean, we'll do like referral programs for clients. So yeah, tell your friend about it and you get $5 off an OTC purchase or something like that. I think is good. But honestly, I think it's just the consistency of marketing. I've always been stumped by that of like, how many conversations are people really having about their pressure pill?
Yeah.
Maybe more than I realize, but to me, I think a lot of it is actually coming from different marketing tactics.
Nicolle, someone's listening and they say, I should probably do something to move forward in marketing, do a little bit more of this. What would you tell somebody for the benefit of their business? What should they be doing like this day that they're maybe not doing that would give them another push in the marketing direction?
I mean, social media is an easy way to start. So if you haven't posted to your page in months or whatever, is trying to dedicate time for that. And even if it's just once a week, that's better than nothing or what they were doing before usually. So I think social media is great. Like I said earlier, so many people use it as a research tool.
Yeah.
So just to be out there. Or the other thing I would recommend is just reach out to your local chamber and see what events you can participate in, or go talk to the other local business owners and see what you can do for them. Both of those things are kind of an easy way to name out there and low cost. I mean, social media is free. Chamber memberships aren't that expensive. So
next door to our pharmacy, we've had a restaurant that's been in and out of business. And finally, there's this new business there. I probably heard a dozen people that have come in and said, what is that next door? And I give them some hacked up story of the best I can explain it. But there, you know, if they would have come to me and said, here's 25 flyers, you know, there's hundreds of people, I'm sure, asking around the different businesses. And if they would have thought about that, and so it makes sense just to go around to your local businesses and just let them know you're there and you're hungry for business.
Absolutely. I mean, as a fellow local business owner, they're more likely to support local businesses usually. So, it doesn't have to be another healthcare related business. I mean, we tell our clients, you visit every other business within your strip center if you're a part of a strip center, and just take them some coupons or your business card. Ask to do a swap where you'll take some of their information for your pharmacy, and let's help each other out. The minimum, if you gain the business of their employees.
Or you might get them to not say something nasty about you at least. Maybe they're upset because your employees are parking somewhere that they shouldn't be. At least maybe they see you and they say, I'm going to stop talking nasty about that person. Nicolle, who should be reaching out to you?
Pharmacy owners, business owners, if you need help with marketing as well in the industry. We worked with business owners that are kind of just getting started and need help, guidance, marketing strategy, or those that are up and running but kind of need a rebrand type things. We've got a lot of different experience with working with all different types of pharmacy businesses and all of that. We're not limited to just retail. We can help with compounding pharmacies, long-term care.
We always had an accountant that we were their only pharmacy, and we were teaching them how to do pharmacy accounting. What the hell do I know about pharmacy accounting? I went to them for that, just like you're saying that. And so
Right.
with marketing too, if you're getting help with marketing, you can go to somebody who has other pharmacies and is in the business because of your expertise in sharing current information and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we can tag team and, hey, ask our other clients, what are you doing? Because we have just over 300 clients nationwide. I mean, we can pull in a, hey, this client did this and it's successful, let's try that. And I think our clients appreciate too, we know what a DIRV is and what a PBM is. And does that relate to marketing? No, but you don't have to then explain pharmacy to us. We can just hit the ground running with you when you sign up for our services, and we understand how to write about it and all of that. So you're kind of overcoming that initial barrier.
Nicolle, thanks for being on. I could sit and talk about marketing forever. I think I like talking about marketing because then it means I'm not actually working. I'm just enjoying the process of talking about it. I think that's why I like it, but it's fascinating to see how people think and stuff like that. So cool stuff you're doing.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. It was fun and it's great. I could also sit here all day and talk about marketing. It's always fun to talk through it with somebody. So thank you.
All right, Nicolle, thanks. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you. Appreciate it.